Hello, it's me. I thought I'd take this time to make a little video about how Taekwondo has been going since I've been going through a couple classes now, and I really don't want to work on my lesson plans, so I think talking about Taekwondo sounds a lot better right now. So, I was kind of intimidated when I first got here. Like, I knew I wanted to do Taekwondo, but, not knowing the language and finding the school and then like walking in and talking to an instructor and seeing what they would say, if they're like this mean Asian person that would just yell at me, or if all the students were like these super high ninjas and I would be totally out of my league. So I was a little intimidated before even going to a school, but during one of my Korean lesson classes I met a guy who does Taekwondo at the school that I go to now, and he said that the instructor was really chill, and that he's from South Africa, and he does ATA Taekwondo there, and he's a black belt, which I thought was, small world. But I checked out this place, and the instructor, he's really, really nice. He's really sweet. His name it's spelled like back, but it's pronounced like back or something different. I just say yes, sir. I'm sure probably ignorant how to properly say his name. But went in, and it's the dad runs the classes, and the mom runs the office, and the son is one of the lead students, so it's like a whole family atmosphere, and they're very welcoming. And like, even going in, because I didn't know Korean, I like typed up this letter, and then I put it through Google Translate about like how I've done Taekwondo and where I'm from, and that I want to do lessons, and they're it's like, oh, the cute little American trying to do Taekwondo. They were welcoming. Like the wife, she made a locker for me and put my name on it. And she spelled it in English. And at the end of class, the instructor, he says, "Do you want a ride home in my bus?" And I'm like, "Sure." So he takes all the students home. He has this like cargo van, and he fits all the students, and he drives around and he drops them off. I guess he also goes around and picks them up, but like I've never had them pick me up. But I thought that was nice that he wanted to make sure that the students, they didn't have too far to walk, or that they didn't prevent them from not coming if they didn't have a ride. So sitting in the van with like 12 people right after Taekwondo class can be a little suffocating, but I'm like the third stop, so it works out for me. But I just thought that was kind of cute, and then the instructor, he's so nice and sweet, and like we'll be doing a drill and something, and he'll make sure to compliment me in English. He knows just a little bit of English, which helps out, and like he says stuff, and like I can't understand it, but then he like will pull me aside and make sure that I understand if it was obvious that I didn't catch on, which has happened several times. But he's a very, very nice and sweet guy, and so is his wife, and they really have made me feel comfortable going there, which is great because obviously I love Taekwondo and I love going, so it works out. I am going to a World Taekwondo Federation school. So for those of you who don't know, Taekwondo is the sport, but then there's different styles of that sport. And so when I was in the States, I did ATA, American Taekwondo Association, Songnam Taekwondo, and that's just one specific style. And World Taekwondo Federation is a different style. So everything is different. Forms are different. The way you spar is different. WTF sparring is the one that is actually in the Olympics. So if you see the Summer Olympics, that's what the Taekwondo that I do now is. And you can see like we wear different uniforms because the WTF is more of a sports-based martial arts. And I guess these don't fall apart as quickly. So they just have the V-neck dobucks they have going on. But more about the differences between ATA and WTF later. For those who don't know, that back in the day, well, the way day, when I was in high school, I did World Taekwondo Federation. I did it all the way up until a red belt, and I was about 6 months away from my black belt, but I went away to college. And while I could have studied on my breaks, I did not. And so I never made it past red belt until I joined ATA, and then I got my black belt that way. But it was something I've always wanted to like go back and like finish that. You know, I already have a black belt, but it's cool to say like, oh, I finished this that I started. So I knew all the forms. They're very simple forms. Like if you did ATA and you saw some of the forms, you'd be like, what the hell? Or what the heck, sorry if kids are watching. That they're very simple and it's easy to pick up. So while I didn't remember like step by step, I remembered key elements of them, and then just practicing them, running through them a couple times, and picking up more on it. Trying to learn. There's 8 forms, so I'm trying to not cram them all in at once. I'm trying to just like focus at a couple at a time because they're very similar. And there's a lot of movements that are very similar, so it can be easy to confuse them. So because I knew that my highest belt was red belt, they decided to make me a red belt. Here, I got my red belt on. Which is really cool because that means that while I'm here, I can train to test for my black belt. And while I already have a black belt, and I will always cherish the black belt I have that I got from Master Graph, that it's just, again, like I said, getting a goal of completing a black belt in another system, and then also getting to test in Korea, like the motherland for Taekwondo, and getting my black belt here. I mean, that's just pretty cool. So I'm excited about that, as you can probably tell. Differences between ATA and World Taekwondo Federation is that WTF is all about sport and speed and quickness and really getting in there and not just once, but kick, combo, combo, combo. So a lot of it is more like drills and combinations and always moving. And because of that, the reflection of like the stances are they're not as wide, they're not as deep. They're just short so that you can move quicker. So ATA forms are a little bit, they're wider and they're deeper, so that like if you were hitting, you had more power, but it's more stationary. So there's pros and cons. It depends on what type of fighter you are. And like I said, the forms are very simple, so there's not a whole lot of emphasis on the forms. We don't spend a whole lot of time, like you're required to know them and do them, and they're still there, but it's really more of practicing the actual techniques, not as much as the forms. Class structure. Classes are an hour long. We start off with some type of cardio, whether it's doing a running exercise around the floor, which the floor is kind of like a mouse pad. It's kind of like squishy, so it's a little bit different. It's just mats on the floor, but it's like squishy. We do either that, or today we did jump ropes. Like they had this video on, and you had to jump in sync with the video. It was at different rhythms, and then different like go here, and then there's like one, and you hold it, and you like kick to the side, and then you back, and it was just a coordination nightmare for me. But I guess it was a good workout. I'm not good at jump rope. I always hit my toes on the jump rope. So, but we do something like that. We do a lot of stretches, and then we'll do either drills or forms or whatever we're doing in class. And then he usually spends the last 10 minutes talking to the kids about something in Korean. I'd like to think it's something about like life or inspirational, but I have no idea because it's in Korean. So me and the other foreigner that goes, he's not the foreigner I met in the Korean class. That guy goes to the earlier class. But it's another foreigner. He's also from South Africa. His name is Chris, and we do forms together while they talk in Korean in class. Chris is about my age and my rank. So, yet again, that sounds very familiar from last school I went to. There's a lot of kids, tons of teenage boys, the black belt boys. His son is a teenager, black belt, and they're all like friends with him. And there's a couple of little kids, which is surprising because I go to class at 9 at night. We go to 9 to 10. But these little kids are up and they're doing Taekwondo. And then there's this girl, as I've mentioned before, it's hard to tell how old Asians are. She's anywhere between the age of 13 and 30. I don't know how old she is. And it's like, I don't want to ask. I think she's probably closer to being like 18, but I don't know that for sure. But she doesn't seem to really try that hard. A lot of the kids don't. I feel especially teenage boys have probably been doing it since they were so little that it's just not exciting, and they're all friends and probably grew up being there at the school, so they don't take things that seriously. You can tell like they're probably pretty good, but they just don't put a lot of effort in. So there is that dynamic. Some differences. Obviously, even if you go to like a different Taekwondo school in the United States, every school kind of has their own tweaks on how you execute certain techniques and their preferences. So I mean, there's some of that. Stances. Not only are like I said before, the stances not as wide or deep, but there's also different names for them. Like what we would call a crane stance, that's what they call a tiger stance, and then they call a crane stance something completely different. And then there's also a twist stance, which we would call an X stance. And they do a lot of walking stances in their forms, which may look like, hey, this person's lazy. They're not even bending their knees at all, but you're not supposed to. You're just literally like you're walking. That's one of the stances. Then tonight, actually, the instructor after class, he spent a lot of time with me trying to teach me the Korean names for all these things. And I'm like, oh, we'll try. And he like giggled every time I said it. But was trying to show me like the differences. He spends a lot of time one-on-one with me, which is very helpful for me, and I appreciate it. It's probably, he's got so many people, and they don't try very hard, that when he sees somebody that's actually trying to learn, he gets excited himself. Mastercraft would love this one. They're not required to wear white t-shirts under their uniform, and not even the instructor wears a plain white shirt. He just wears whatever. So sorry, but they don't care. The kids, like the ones I teach in class, are really rowdy. I don't know if it's, again, just the pressures of being a Korean kid and going to school all day, that they just are wild. They're very rowdy. They talk all the time, and the instructor just lets them. I mean, they don't talk over him when he's talking, but they're doing drills and stuff. They're either goofing off or they're talking. So it's not that culture of discipline that you would expect. People hardly ever bow. Nobody ever says yes, sir. Nobody ever really yells. uh, like key-ups. So again, very, very different. You would think they would be more so, and that's what I was expecting to be like military almost, of like, oh, gotta bow, gotta stay, yes sir. But no, this is the absolute most laid back Taekwondo, martial arts, karate, any type of school that I've been to. And it's not that he's not in charge, because he definitely is. I think it's just the style of, let them be kids, let them have fun, and when it's important, then kind of bring them in. Again, it's kind of more of a family atmosphere. Like when the guys are goofing off, he'll like smack them on top of the head with a pad, or they'll like push them around, in a joking way. But that's a little bit different. Yes, it's true that in Korea that you can actually get your black belt in a year, but the reason for that is that people go like every day of the week to Taekwondo. There's classes 5 days a week, and most of these kids are going to go every single day. So when you put it in perspective, if the average student in the United States only goes like 2 times a week and they get their belt in 3 years, then it kind of balances out. And I mean, that's just like the potential 2 tests. You may not, if something happens, you're not going to just use your black belt, but that is true. What do I like better? I like the forms in ATA a lot better, but I feel because the ones in WTF are simpler, I can actually do them better and look better doing them. So, I mean, I don't know. I do like the forms in ATA better. I think they're prettier, and I like the art part of martial arts. So, I miss that. I like ATA sparring better too, because it's different sparring rules and even sparring equipment. Like in ATA, you wear things to protect yourself. Like you wear a glove to protect your hand, you wear a boot to protect your foot. And WTF, you wear like padding to protect yourself against someone else's attack. Like you wear forearm guards and knee guards and foot pad. I view it as more of you're wearing it just to protect yourself. And they do as many points as you can get within a time period. Whereas in ATA, like you have 2 minutes, but you stop it during each point, and then people vote. So sparring in WTF is more intense, and being a slower, I'd say more methodical type sparrer, I prefer ATA better. I mean, over the years, I've lost less and less interest in sparring. When I was a kid, I really liked sparring, but I'm much more of a forms person or a practical self-defense person these days. So, I feel overall that WTF actually pushes me more because you have to do a lot of speed, a lot of flexibility. I feel like I'm being pushed more. But I don't know. Kind of still like ATA better. Maybe that's just because I miss all the people there. But I am having a lot of fun. And if you have any questions, or if any like cool things pop up, like I learned a new kick yesterday. It was like a vertical round kick. So instead of kicking this way, you like go to kick, but then you're kicking towards the face, and then when it rotates, you rotate so that you're actually kicking like down on a person. I haven't done that before. So if I learn these little tidbits along the way, or cool stuff happens, I will share them. But that's my little Taekwondo video. And I say